Okay, people, welcome to another episode of Natty News Daily. We've got the Tahan family on board today, and they run the INBF Empire State Cup, which, if you guys obviously are following us at Natty News, you'll know that James, fellow co-host here, competed in just, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Seems like longer.
Seems like longer. So I guess I'll let James kind of take the lead with because this was his idea, which I think is super cool because it's going to give you guys a different perspective from the promoter's side of it when it comes to promoting a show, what goes into running a show, the headaches that come with that, and then obviously tenfold with the whole COVID situation right now. Because speaking for myself, actually, I intended to come to your guys' show last year, but for obvious reasons that didn't happen. But anyways, James, why don't you kick this off, man, with what you want to get out of this podcast?
Yeah. So the idea was like, any athlete leaves a show and they think, oh, this could have been better. Oh, I did like this. Why didn't they do this? So hindsight's 2020, especially if you don't know all the fine detail and all the stress and all the things that the promoter has to go through and the hoops they have to jump through. So I and Veronica, we had chatted a little bit just about like some of the things that I noted. And I wanted to kind of bring that forward for the athletes and for any just bodybuilding fans in general, because everyone, we know that we want to compete and we want to go to these shows, but like what makes the show and how does it happen? And just kind of peeling back some of the mystery of like why some of these things are the way they are and why they have to be the way they are. Especially since you guys have gone through 2020, which was, not easy for anybody, but I'm sure, running a business that is the business that a promotion is not easy.
Yeah. I can pick off if that's where you want me to pick up.
Give some
whenever.
Give some insight as to how long you guys have been doing this. Obviously, before we got
only
live.
3 years, so I'll be. You're gonna hear a funny story. My crazy self got drunk one night. The truth, God, and this was after a competition, and I told my husband we're gonna have children, and I'd like to be involved in the sport somehow, but if I'm not fit, I got to figure out a way how I can still do something and be a part. So I called the WNBF and I got in touch with Bob and Tina, and we ended up being promoters. And honestly, I did not know what I was signing up for. You don't realize. At the end of the day, the first year was a lot of work. So if you're a new promoter, you're building a website, you have to make connections with judges in the area. Obviously, you want to build a following with coaches, make connections, and reach out to people and attract a crowd to get to your show. In addition to building a website and maintaining it, there's a lot of compliance as far as, obviously it's a venue, so we have to get insurance. So there's that cost. You've got the cost. There's just the financial burden. If you're going to be doing a show, there's a lot of costs up front. And I'll be honest with you, majority of promoters do not make money, not until their 5th or 6th year. So, I mean, we were lucky to break even, I'll be honest, this year, which was a blessing.
That's great.
But at the same time, it's not for the money, because if people think it's for the money, if you're in the NPC, yes, maybe, but you really got to love the sport. And I can say that like this year was, I think, more exciting than the first year, because we had athletes from all over, and seeing them post in our hometown, like where we live, like they're at a bakery shop, or even the ones that traveled up from Mexico. That was actually really enjoyable to bring that business here and see that. And that's honestly, I think I enjoyed that more than even the
cool seeing them travel and following them get the.
Well, he even drove them back to the airport the next morning.
Yeah,
he got on.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. They were gonna. Well, they got into Syracuse and they didn't know how to get a car. They didn't realize it's like a 45-minute drive from like Utica to Syracuse, so they ended up paying a cab like $170 on the way from Syracuse to Utica. Then on the way back, they're like, "Do you know of a cheaper way?" And I was looking up some Uber or things, and it's like still like $100. I'm like, whatever, I'll just bring you guys.
So we woke up at what time? 3 a.m.
Well, they had to be there at 4. I think at like 2:30.
Yeah, so we went and picked them up. But I mean, those things obviously.
So far, so I didn't mind doing that.
I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, those things are fine. The stresses of the show really are, you know, you've got a multitude of different things that you're trying to adhere to with your league federation to be involved. There's league fees that you have to keep up on. But I mean, I'm trying to think of like not stresses, but things that people just don't realize.
Well, like when you're first getting into it too, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, I know the WMF, they expected, you know, us to get involved with other shows and see how they get run.
Oh yeah,
so
you participating
you end up
in
having
other
to do, like, you know, you end up doing some traveling, going to other shows, meeting other promoters, and you end up helping
assisting.
them run their shows, and then you see how they do it. You know, that's a busy thing itself, how many different shows we have to go. I mean, I couldn't go to
the first year. I went to a bunch of shows, but then at the same time, COVID happened, and then a lot of shows within our federation. I don't know if you guys noticed, but New York State, I think, we're the only one that was standing this year, just given the fact that Buffalo stopped, and I don't know if the Imatasis within our federation are going to continue right now, or if they may not. I don't know. They've been doing it for a while, so I mean, it's a lot. Like I have to say, I work a normal 40-hour work week plus. I'm an HR. And that job in itself, doing the show, and I love you, honey, because you help as much as possible.
She's a mess, man.
But I probably work, I would say 6 months out of the year on the show, I probably work an additional, I want to say, it's like a part-time job for 6 months out of the year. And I'm answering emails and especially for athletes, if they have questions, and I'm trying to make sure I get back to them timely, because I know if it was that she was on the other foot, I'd like to know the answer to those questions. And if, especially first-time athletes, you get questions from first-time athletes, and that's when I want to be like, do you have a coach? do you know? Because some first-time athletes just ask questions that, like, if you had a coach, that guidance would be there. And not everyone knows that. So, I mean, as far as the stress of the day, check-ins are crazy because what shows struggle with is people don't show up when they're supposed to. The polyographs are time slotted for a reason because they are back-to-back.
Sometimes they always get messed up.
If they don't polygraph, I can't have them compete. Which the first year we had an issue with that. I had to get someone in for the polygraph for the day of the show. And we fly her in and fly her out. We pay for that. It's our polygrapher. We pay for her to stay, her flight. So, I mean, it's just all these expenses that people don't realize. So, but obviously we love it. And I like the prizes. Honestly, that's what we
really stuff. It's cool.
I want to say the first, not that the other prizes aren't great, but we made the intention with our show to be the overall package, like those pro card holders. I want them to walk away with not just a damn trophy or certificate. And this year we gave away massage guns. We had pre-workout. The year before we had the 6-pack bags, the nice lunch packs. They had it was work ethic pre-workout, and they had some other stuff. I mean, I've gotten my pro card for 2 federations, and I have the trophy. They're nice, but I never walked away with something else. So it's just nice to have another piece. And that's why we were trying to do that to attract, more people. Our first year, if you guys had seen our first year, we actually did a lot. I was restrained this year because of COVID. Like we had like if you had seen, we had food out. We had I only put half moons out this year, but we had like a spread. I had a spread.
They were still appreciated. They were, crushed it.
I can just tell you that I felt bad because it's just like they had so many restrictions. I was sneaking in the food because they didn't want that. But our first year, I'm not kidding you. And I bought subs for everyone, like just stuff you don't see at shows. So
big difference in this sponsors.
Yeah, we didn't have any sponsors really.
That attracts, people out at the tables, and they might be selling things.
So like those goodie bags we put together this year versus the first year we had some assistance with sponsors.
So the goodie bags probably could have been more if we had sponsors, but a lot of times sponsors weren't willing to dole out money because of COVID now.
And we didn't expect it, obviously, either.
So that was harder. That was a challenge.
But we definitely, I believe in the future, especially given the fact that this was a successful show because we were able to give out 4 pro cards at the last second. it'll look good for the future shows. And it's just building stability, I guess, and being able to, stay consistent. It's also hard to promote in regards to what generation is looking. We use Instagram as a major focus. I wasn't as focused on it this year because we're put so much work on it the first 2 years, and we're in the process of moving. But we also are looking for different ways to advertise to get our name out there too. And it's hard because you do have these long running shows that have been out there, and we are competing, for lack of a better word, against Mike Halsey. And he's been in the industry for a very long time. The one thing we do have on him is our youth. Nothing against Mike, but we are a young couple in the area. And I know he's been doing it for a while. So who knows? Obviously, there'll come a time that he'll probably want to end, and then we'll still be here. But it's just...
For the viewers that don't know who Mike Halsey is, he runs in NYS Natural, which does shows out of Albany and Syracuse exclusively, or does he have other ones as well?
He used to do Utica, but he stopped because they did the Stanley. I competed at his show at the Stanley, and I'll be honest, it's stupid expensive to have a show there. It's like $6,000, and the lighting is terrible.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if maybe Utica just didn't get the draw too that he was hoping. And
I have to admit, it was a cool stage to be on, but other than that, like I think I had this conversation with you. My photos were terrible. Like I didn't even look like I had definition. Like I was washed out.
That's another thing too, with having a venue.
Yeah.
Good,
Something. Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, even at the venue that we were at with now, like we try to test the lights and
work with them. But sometimes when we set the lighting and then the gentleman didn't reset, we had a little struggle there the next day.
They had to move some people on the line and stuff, which was unfortunate.
But that's something that we want to improve on. It's already been in our notes because we worked on it this year, but it got changed last second.
But as former competitors, you're cognizant of that, though. That
well, it's nice because it's worth more than just your judge. Like you're judging, obviously based off of where you're placed on the stage. It matters. The lighting will affect how you're judged. Also, nothing. I want to win. I love to win. But at the same time, at the end of the day, after you leave that show, you leave it either with your pro card or not, and those photos. And I'd like to have some pretty damn good photos. So it would be a takeaway. And I feel bad for James because we were discussing, obviously, the lighting on that stage that day. And I honestly, it's hard because I'm backstage, so I don't always see it. If we had someone in the stands that could maybe work with the headset with the guy behind, he could probably make those adjustments and quick while we have someone on stage. And realistically, it's probably the best to do it earlier in the morning when we have someone in bodybuilding form ready to compete that day so we can see. But it's one of those things that I know is important.
Yeah, so that day, the lighting, it was very interesting because I've now had time you review all the different photos and where they came from, and it was three very different looks. So backstage, the lighting, whatever that lighting is back there, I looked very, very, very dry. In center stage for my routine, and when I came out, the lighting was perfect. You had a good contrast. It wasn't washed out. But then as soon as you move to the side, you get that little bit of where, I used the Dream Tan. So it looked a little bit more oily. You lose the definition when I got to the side there a little bit. So, and that's one of the big things I don't think a lot of athletes notice. They see their photos, and they don't take the time to really think about all right, it's not just the lighting, it's not just the photographer, or maybe I didn't look as good as I think I did because I'm only seeing photos of me backstage, or something like that, where because you're not seeing what the judges are seeing in that moment. And
I can tell you from being a judge, you definitely see things from a whole new perspective in general there, because I've looked at girls on stage, I'm talking females because I am a female competitor. And I look at a girl and I'll be like, oh, she's a shoo-in. And then as soon as I sit low at that angle, and honestly, from a competitor standpoint, if you are posing, not even just that. It's the angle in which you're posing at. So your judge or whoever's working with you on posing needs to sit low. It needs to sit at an angle, because you'll look different sitting way low versus at eye level. And I've seen girls that like I said, I look at them and I'm like, oh yeah, she's going to win. And then I get down below and I'm like, but no, she doesn't look as good as the other girl that looked soft. Like there's just some interesting differences there as far as judging is concerned. And then you also have different judges too when you deal with organizations and such. As far as opinions, it is very subjective, which is frustrating. The sport, you could work your ass off and get on that stage and be like, and I've been in that situation before and looked and I've been like, the hell did they place higher than me? Like, I'm definitely in better shape. And like it is that situation. Yeah, I know. And
I bet everybody here.
Yeah. It is, but I mean, at the same time, and that's another thing, is you do get a bunch of competitors reaching out, and if I can give the feedback, obviously I will. I do give the judge. I don't have even my judges' personal numbers. I use their Facebooks. That's how I get in touch with them. But whatever the judges' cards that are left, I can compile whatever information I can. Now, obviously, if your show gets to be 60 plus people, you can't expect a promoter to answer those emails all the time. It's just, I have to say, it's unrealistic. But our show is, I want to say, an average size right now. Yeah. If we keep at our numbers 30 to 40, that's manageable for me.
And the judges, they did stay after some bit. I mean, I don't know if everybody was able to talk to them, but
yeah, and some people were
after some. And yeah. I saw them talking to people, but I know it's hard for them to probably talk to everybody.
And it's better to get that feedback in real time, honestly, than it is to get it afterwards, because I hate to say it, but it's a second thought. You know what I mean? Unless they have your picture and what you're wearing that day.
They're only reading what they wrote. They might not really remember your face or what you want.
I mean, they go off of numbers. It's specific to numbers. But even from a judging perspective too. And also, like I said, getting the judges. I know our federation, we are looking for judges, and we certify ours. The OCB does not. They require you either to be a pro or either a retired athlete, someone that won't step on the stage, so it won't be a conflict of interest. So that there's a little bit of a nuance there between the two federations. So I could walk in and be an OCB judge because I'm a pro in the OCB federation, but I didn't need to take a course. All of our judges had to go through a thorough, like it was a half day. Yeah, and we had to pay for the food and everything. Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, well, we do want to.
Judges to become judges.
But it's also, it teaches you stuff that other federations might not. Like, it's just, you get a judge, like I said, willy-nilly that thinks of a category.
I guess the judge is more on the same level, like kind of,
even
along the same lines,
consistency it wants as much as possible.
It gives a little more consistency if they go through the seminar.
Plus, I don't know, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I haven't been on the competitor side in some time because I'm making babies left and right. I know our federation is very good about listing like the routines, the poses and YouTube videos, and what they're looking for. The metrics of all of that are on the WNBF website. I don't recall if the OCB or if it's the the other federation.
IP.
Yeah. I don't know if they list all of those details on there. Is that something that
they have? Go ahead, James.
I was just gonna say, I know they have like sample photos, the OCB specifically. I don't know about the others as much. I know OCB has like, this is what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And they break it down a little bit, but it's not super detailed from what I remember.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I don't
exactly.
Even remember. Yeah,
it's basically just photos, but even you look at the photos, you're like, I don't even know. I would probably even tweak how that pose is presented. Yeah. So it's like it's just stage shots of people a lot of times rather than professionally put together photos of how to present this pose, how to present that pose. Yeah, that sort of thing. But
well, if you check out I'm not even kidding. I thought that was part of the reason I was a little impressed. I was like, oh wow, I'm like, they literally break everything down. Now, one thing I didn't know when I competed in the WNBF, and I learned real fast, is they judge you on your walks if you're going for your pro card. And I hate walking in heels. So it was an interesting caveat that I had to learn. Luckily, I got lucky and I won, but at the same token, that's a different thing that they don't have for every federation. So it's a little bit of a nuance there. I know with the bodybuilding class, that was just for ties that they judged it on. But you know, every organization obviously has their nuances. And that's also another thing, you get competitors that get you confused. They're like, oh, I thought you were like, I actually had a competitor this show for bikini. And unfortunately, we were able to give a pro card out. But unfortunately, I had enough for pro card for bikini. I want to say it was about a month out. And then 3 girls dropped out like in a period of weeks. So then I had to not have a pro card. And then all of a sudden, the day of the show, 3 girls all from one team swiped in and were like, we'll stand in. And I didn't even charge them. I'm like, go ahead. If you want to get that pro card, we'll throw you in and we'll throw you in the lineup and we'll give an eligibility for a pro.
Figure.
No, this was for bikini.
Bikini.
Well, it happened for figure and bikini.
Okay.
Anyways, the one girl reached out the day before the show and she goes, she was just asking for a couple of details. And then she goes, just want to verify this is pro card eligible. And I said it was, but now it's not. She goes, well, she basically confirmed and said to me, she goes, no, this has to be pro card. The show 2 weeks ago there was pro card. I said, it might've been another federation. I said, but our rules and regulations, I have to have at least 8 competitors. We'd like to say it's pro card, but I can't guarantee it. And I said, we do accept registrations usually up to the last second to get that pro card. And we did. That day we were able to give one. Unfortunately, she didn't win, but I mean.
Yeah, that's something that it's good of you guys to do that, right? And be transparent and, you know, not give people a bit of false hope, right? Because
I can only tell them as close as we're getting. Like as if I get people inquiring, I'm like, yep, I think we'll definitely make it, or no, I'm sorry. I know for a fact. And honestly, I thought I was going to be able to give a bikini. We gave a bikini out the first year, no problem. But it's so weird too, because I had a lot of male competitors at this show and a lot of female at the first show. They flipped. Really.
The first show we only had like 2 physique competitors. This one we had like a nice.
We had a lot of bodybuilding though. The first show.
A lot of bodybuilding.
Yeah, bodybuilding actually is huge.
We were short 1 person for pro card.
Yeah, but honestly, if you think about it, we've been consistent with specifically bodybuilding.
Yeah, bodybuilding is always a big category. It don't always draw.
I know, but it's surprising to nothing. Again, I know you guys are a bunch of bodybuilders, and I know the sport is bodybuilding. But I just, you're not even a bodybuilder. You're physique.
Because I do what I know I'll do better in, and I know I wouldn't do good in that. So
you got no legs.
Just trying to do what I can do.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah. So we talked about Mike Halsey very briefly, right? He's got multiple shows. Do you see you guys kind of trying to expand, especially if the guys in Rochester are no longer doing it? Like, is that in the cards, or what do you see going forward for you guys?
Hey, how about you promote a show out in Rochester? I'll help you.
Me and Brett talked about it, but
maybe
I think
someday, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, honey, I love you. But
I don't know.
I love you.
I said someday. That's what I said. Honestly, right now, it's not something like.
To be honest, as a promoter, this is exactly what it is. Are any of you married? Well, James, you're married. Anyone else married?
In
no.
29 days.
It's gonna be.
Okay.
Yeah,
have you planned a wedding?
29 days.
Promoting every year is like planning a wedding.
So this is good for me. So actually, I'll expand on this podcast a bit more. I've actually been in talks with WNBF Canada to promote a show here in Ontario, and actually this was supposed to be the beginning year, but for obvious reasons for COVID, that didn't happen. So this has been very interesting for me to hear all of the, because I can attest to the rule book the WNBF has with regards to promoting and how things are to be structured and timelines and when things should be done by and all this kind of stuff, and it's very intense. So this has been really educational for me. So
Yeah,
I'm
insurance alone is like $1,000 just to pay for show insurance. 'Cause you
yeah.
gotta make-
So, you got to have your ducks in a row for this, right? So, I'm hoping that things can go next year. A lot of it for me is probably going to be just financial with the wedding
Yeah.
this year and probably a honeymoon next year. So, that kind of stuff is good for me to kind of hear from you guys and the struggles that you've faced and that kind of stuff, because I'm potentially in the same boat as you guys were a couple of years ago. So this is good.
Yeah. No, but it's all honestly at the end of the day, when we make it through the show, I'm freaking exhausted because I've been pregnant each time. But
Yeah,
I'm
no,
very,
you're lucky.
but I'm happy. Like it's just
Yeah, it's nice.
it's just nice. It's nice. We didn't have as much help this year because everyone
Yeah, I had some bad luck.
Everyone was gone.
Helped me.
everyone was
There was
gone.
like some big family weekend. They were all away.
Yeah.
I usually had some volunteers. and
All of our
some
help was
people.
just not here. So it was literally just me, you,
Yeah.
and your aunt.
It was
But
hard. I was
we
trying
made
to
it through.
Get everyone backstage, and it was hard because everyone's in different directions. Oh, you got to get the bikini lineup and grab
That's
this
probably
people
the
and that
most.
people.
If you
and
can get through, if as a promoter, if you can
That's
get through the prejudging, I
You made it.
I remember like I
it's
had
kind of relief once you get to
Yeah.
routines. It's like, okay, it's a little easier now. You got a minute to make sure you got like 5 people lined up. It's not
Yeah.
too bad.
It's definitely, it's like I said, it's a rewarding thing when you can put it on and people, for the most part, because you can't make everyone happy, are satisfied. Because you got it, at the end of the day, you can't please everyone. I've learned that.
No, for sure.
There's always let down if someone has a close,
But if anything, like I think we just want to make sure that with our show that if you do win, you walk away and you're very
Feel like a
happy.
winner,
Yeah,
yeah.
you feel like a winner. So
That's awesome. That's
and
awesome.
obviously we like feedback
even if it's
too.
not program, like even just the first place for your class, like we
Yeah.
had decent prizes, like
Yeah.
people that go head to head against each other.
Well, yes, we did this year. We had a variety, but even obviously, quick nuance is obviously our organization. If you're a novice, you can't cross over to open, and vice
That's
versa.
something different.
That's also something different. It's knowing the league rules, honestly, and then
a lot of competitors might not know that, so they might do novice, not realizing that they only can't do the open. So it's just something different.
Mm-hmm. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I guess kind of give some closing points about running a show. Obviously, you guys clearly love it, which is, I think, huge, right? Mm-hmm. Especially being competitors yourselves. This is something James, Dan, and I have talked about in previous podcasts, where when a promoter has the competitor's eye, they kind of know how they want the show to go, whether it be lighting, whether it be stage setup or whatever. So I guess some notes to finish this on, your guys' plans for the future. What do you like?
Why don't we flip this a little bit? You brought up the posing, right? Things from a judge or a promoter that you see athletes do that you think they could improve on for them to have a better experience or to them have a better placing.
So things that I think that athletes could
do.
Do
so you said like, okay, have your coach get at a lower angle.
Yeah. So coaching, I would say yes, posing, but obviously at the angle in which they're posing. I would also reference some of these suit pickups that people wear. Like I see Superwoman suits on, some flashy things. Standard sleek colors actually are more impressive. Yeah, you do like some people stand out with the bright yellows and stuff, but I think you do better with a suit that is sleeker. That's a personal opinion. On stage, I'm trying to think other as an athlete. As an athlete, obviously come prepared backstage and clean up after yourself. Like that's one thing that we've been to shows and you want to have, I'm trying to think of like what can prepare like a newbie for success. I mean, obviously having your pump up equipment, timing, straws. I'm just trying to think of other things that like straws, because on my very first show, right before I went on show for my pro card, I dumped water all down myself and I had to get a spray tan before going on stage. I still won that show.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. That's a hard question. Like, what can you do to?
I mean, I know if you're using
also
non-gene tan, like the other spray tan, there are some certain things you can do as an athlete to make your skin complexion come out good? I don't know. Some of you guys maybe do this, but I know like pH level on your skin matters.
Yeah, preparing. I mean, and
I don't know if you
obviously
guys
Heidi.
have heard of that before, but there's something I did for like a couple shows I did.
Well,
was,
Heidi suggested.
yeah, one of the tanning people that we use, who we ended up not being able to use this year because she couldn't, but you know, she suggests using what was that brand? I forget. Swab or something that helped reduce the pH on your skin, and then that actually it can mess up your tan on
you can make you could look green.
You know, if exactly, it can mess things up. So that's another thing maybe athletes don't always
also
know.
When you know where you are in the lineup, females do this, males don't wander the hell away. Like stay close. Because
that last second thing. That's
girls, it's women. I was never women in general. I hate to say it, females, but you all like to go to the bathroom and do stuff. Stay close, especially when you know. And that's something we've been striving to do, is let you know. Okay, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, trying to get you closest to being on stage, because it makes the show flow smoother. Plus, no one wants to wait in that lineup and know that you're that one girl that kept them. Men can do it too occasionally.
I've had it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I had a quick question. I know we don't have a lot of time, but like from an athlete's perspective, like for shows, like we run ours straight through, and we ran it pretty. Female. I just don't like to keep people, and obviously there are night shows and people do that, and yeah, that's great and all. But I know people have lives; they're traveling out of town to go to places. Is like, what is your preference, or do you not care?
Straight through.
Like,
straight through.
Yeah, probably straight through. Yeah, I probably think it would be even more impactful for the audience that they definitely would prefer. Yeah, straight through.
Okay. Because like I said, there are some shows that break them up. Some don't.
I mean,
but
it depends if it's like a man.
I'm trying to think of like other, like some do male and female. Ours are, I mean, if ours were to get bigger, obviously we would probably split it up, female and male. But right now it's at a good size where we're doing both and it runs straight through. I just didn't know if people had a preference, because I have been to all varieties of shows. So
awesome. Okay, guys, appreciate you coming on. I think this is very, very, I mean, I learned a lot, so I'm sure a lot of people watching. No, that's good. That's good. It's scattered as running a show. I probably is. Well, where can people find you guys? I know you guys mentioned that you guys primarily used Instagram to promote the show. What's that account? What's your personal account? If people want to maybe reach out, inquire about some more questions they have.
So the Instagram is INBF Empire State Cup. Is that what it is exactly? I think it's those exact words. INBF
_Empire _State _Cup.
Got it.
And then yours is Joe T. Fish.
Yeah,
right?
my normal handle is just Joe T. Fish. Super simple.
And I feel bad, but mine is just stupid. It's strive for great. You don't worry about me.
Strive for great thighs, but it's
awesome. All right. That's perfect. All right, people, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for future episodes, show these people some love on social media, maybe come compete next year. It's potentially on my list, so I look forward to it. So thanks again, guys, and appreciate you coming on.